She knew. She saw the receipts. The girl. The lie. The loan under her name. But she didn't pack. She didn't scream. She didn't leave. She stayed. Not because she loved him. Because he made a mistake. And now, she had the proof. Marin from Harlem, I found out. I stayed. But not for him. Series 10 True Affair Stories from New York. It started with a number that didn't make sense. Marin was reviewing the monthly breakdown of their shared account, a routine she never skipped. Not because she didn't trust him, but because numbers had never lied to her. People did. $6,500. Marked as a transfer. Labeled vaguely, Project Seed. She hadn't authorized it. She cross-checked the date. A Tuesday. She was in Philadelphia that day for a nonprofit board meeting. Darius had said he was working from home, prepping grant proposals for his upcoming play. But the money was gone. She called the bank. Asked for the receiving account number. Then the name. It came back under her own. Only it wasn't an account she recognized. Marin sat back in her chair. Closed the laptop. Reopened it. She logged into her old inbox, the one she used before they moved in together. Started searching keywords: loan, signature, theater fund. That's when she found it. A PDF contract. Darius's project had applied for an emergency arts grant tied to a private investor. But to secure it, a co-signer was required. A name with better credit. A name that held weight. Hers. At the bottom of the page, beneath a stack of legal phrasing and risk clauses, was a digital signature. Marin Jefferson. Only, she hadn't signed it. She double-checked the IP log. The form had been submitted from their apartment Wi-Fi. Late at night. 3 weeks ago. She had been asleep. He had been up working. The silence in the apartment was different now. Not peaceful. Pressurized. She printed the contract. 1 copy. Then 2. She scanned it. Uploaded it to a hidden folder in her cloud drive. Forwarded it to her private email. Labeled it. In case. She didn't confront him. That night, she made dinner. Lentil stew. His favorite. They talked about the weather. About his rehearsals. About a new cafe that opened 2 blocks down. He smiled like always. Kissed her neck in that practiced way. And she smiled back. Like a woman who knew she was being robbed by the man sitting across from her and wasn't done collecting evidence. She waited until he fell asleep, soft breathing beside her. Then she got up. Opened her laptop again. She built a spreadsheet. Transfer dates. Project timelines. Rental payments. His travel receipts. Her credit activity. There was a map now. And it pointed to only one conclusion. She had been funding the illusion. He wasn't building a life with her. He was financing one through her. Marin didn't cry. She didn't call her best friend. She didn't pour wine or throw anything against the wall. She just looked at the printout again. Her name. his ambition, her risk, his gamble. She knew the game now. And it was her move next. The girl's name was Talia. Marin found her by accident. Or maybe it wasn't an accident. Algorithms were predictable, and Darius had a habit of being careless when he felt untouchable. An Instagram story, just 10 seconds. Darius's laugh, unmistakable. A hand brushing his. A soft light, a rooftop bar. The camera turned just enough to catch his profile. Talia tagged the location. Marin didn't react. She saved the post. Then searched. Talia Grace. 27. Aspiring actress. Shared two mutuals both connected to a community theater group Darius had once performed with. Marin scrolled through her photos. Headshots. Candid rehearsal pics. A recent birthday dinner with a caption that read, "Thank you to the man who believes in me more than anyone ever has. My mentor. My anchor. My unexpected heart." She didn't tag him. Of course she didn't. Marin booked a table at a quiet cafe on the Upper West Side. Then she sent a message through a burner profile. "Hi. I work with Darius on a few artistic accounts. Would love to connect upcoming projects. Coffee." Talia replied in under an hour. She wore a powder blue dress. Soft makeup. Nervous energy. Marin arrived early. Dark blazer. Neutral lip. Her presence deliberate, composed. She didn't introduce herself as a partner. Or a co-signer. Just someone in the loop. Talia talked easily. She was eager. Kind. Unaware. She mentioned Darius's brilliance. His charisma. His eye for people. Marin listened. Asked smart, gentle questions. And then Talia said it. "He told me about the woman who helps manage his finances. His longtime collaborator. I think she used to work on grant compliance. You must know her." "Marin, I think." Marin didn't blink. She nodded once. "I've heard of her." Talia smiled. "He says she's the reason he can finally focus on art." Marin sipped her coffee. Bit the inside of her cheek. "He's very lucky," she said. The rest of the conversation passed like steam. Soft. Fleeting. But Marin left the cafe with every piece she needed. Darius wasn't in love. Not with Talia. Not even with her. He was in love with reflection of being seen as someone worth betting on. Talia gave him innocence. Marin gave him access. Neither was accidental. She took the long way home. Walked past the theater where Darius once played Othello. The poster was gone now. A new face in a glass. She paused. Looked at her reflection. Not jealous. Not hurt. Just tired. And done pretending the performance was still ongoing. It had ended. He just didn't know it yet. Marin sat in the quiet of her home office, the only light coming from her laptop screen. The apartment was still too still. Darius was out, again, chasing opportunity or distraction. She didn't care which anymore. She opened her old email. Searched for the contract. There it was. Subject, final signature, grant agreement. She clicked. The PDF opened. There was her name. There was her signature. There was the forged lie that tied her to someone else's risk. She downloaded the file. Scanned every page. Every clause. The loan was steep. The penalties worse. But what made her pulse skip wasn't the numbers. It was the precision of the lie. Darius hadn't rushed this. He'd planned. Calculated. She printed 2 copies. Scanned them back in high resolution. She saved 1 copy in a hidden folder on her encrypted cloud drive. Another on an external hard drive she hadn't used in years. She emailed herself. She emailed her lawyer. Subject line, for records only. Attachment, leverage.pdf. She didn't include a message. She didn't need to. Then she closed the laptop. Took a deep breath. And waited. When Darius came home hours later, the smell of whiskey followed him in. His scarf was askew. His smile lazy. "Hey, baby," he said, leaning to kiss her cheek. She let him. Dinner was cold. She had left it out intentionally. He didn't ask questions. Later, he poured himself a drink and collapsed on the couch. He played a jazz playlist on low volume, the kind he always turned to when he wanted to feel profound. Marin stood in the doorway. She watched him sip, watched him settle. Then, softly, almost like it was nothing, she said, "You won't lose me tonight. But if I lose anything else because of you, you'll lose everything." Darius turned, slow and foggy. "What?" She didn't repeat herself. She just met his eyes. And held them. Something in him shifted. He laughed. Lightly. Like she was joking. "Babe. Come on. You know I got you." She tilted her head. "I do. That's why I checked." He opened his mouth. Closed it. She walked away first. No slam. No fight. Just one line, dropped like a stone into the middle of their fabricated stillness. And now, he knew. She wasn't guessing anymore. She was documenting. The next morning, Marin woke first. She brewed coffee. Reset every password. Logged out of every shared account. Called the bank and removed his name from the joint savings. Froze the credit card he used for expenses. Reissued a new one. By 9:12 a.m., she had changed the locks. Not to keep him out, but to remind herself, nothing stays open for someone who lies to get in. Darius didn't ask questions. Not that morning. Not the next. He walked more carefully. Said fewer words. Marin didn't perform. She didn't pretend to care about dinner plans or his grand proposals. She didn't offer softness where steel was required. She took a call with her attorney midweek. Asked what would happen if the loan defaulted. Asked what would happen if she pressed charges. She didn't threaten. She just wanted to know the law's limits. She reviewed the apartment lease. saw her name first, noted it. She began rewriting everything he thought was shared. The accounts, the apartment, the narrative. By Friday, Darius brought her flowers. She thanked him, set them in water, then threw them out when he left. That weekend, Marin visited the same cafe where she'd first met Talia. This time, she sat outside, alone. Iced tea, no lemon. A book she didn't open. Across the street, she saw him. Darius. Laughing, animated. Talia beside him, nodding, hopeful. Marin watched without blinking. She didn't wave. Didn't flinch. In her bag sat a black hard drive. Not to expose him. To remember. Because memory is a weapon when silence has to speak. When they stood to leave, Marin waited. Then rose. Walked in the opposite direction. No drama. No confrontation. Just a quiet withdrawal of resources, emotional, financial, spiritual. She didn't need to leave the city. She didn't need to delete his number. She had already removed him from the place he'd used most effectively. Her trust. And now, the terms were hers. Not for revenge. For balance. For memory. For control. And maybe, most of all, for peace. Some affairs end in tears. Some in lawsuits. And some like Marin's end in silence. With a woman holding the evidence. And the upper hand. That was the final chapter in 10 True Affair Stories from New York. But betrayal isn't a New York thing. It's an everywhere thing. For our next series, we're heading south. To the state where sweet tea hides bitter truths. Where hospitality can mask infidelity. And where cheating isn't just personal. It's generational. Welcome to Georgia. 10 True Affair Stories from Georgia is coming next. Because sometimes, the quiet towns hold the loudest secrets.